Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. A little later on, a tribute to Barry Fay and the legacy he left. But right now I want to talk about proof that it can happen. You can take a bad government and turn it around. I want to introduce you to Steve Laffey, who's been in Colorado for a few years, but really you were known for being the mayor of a great metropolitan area, Cranston, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Rhode Island is still a state, right?
Yes, small, but yes, they haven't taken. Massachusetts has not taken it over.
Really, it seems like they should.
Some people think they should.
Yeah. All right.
But it's my home state, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your tenure as mayor there and what seems to be common sense but difficult changes you made, and you helped encapsulate all that. And I want to go over it. You ran for mayor. What was the situation in this one city? When was it? Give me the year. 2002,
the situation was simply this. The city had overspent over 4 years by $22 million. It had decided to balance the budget by taking all the money remaining out of the city pension plan. So they had $9 million when I became mayor. They had 18. They decided to take it all out. So 6 months later, I become mayor. There's 9. There's $250 million of liabilities. So a 3% funding ratio. Zero, basically. Like Social Security today, but right. Worse, because you can't print money. The city went to the lowest bond rating in the United States of America. And so the day I became mayor, took office, we were about 27 days from defaulting on our debt and missing payroll, and the city was borrowing 3-month money at tax equivalent rates of 15%. And as I told the people of Rhode Island, where the Coloradans get the joke, but this is sort of like losing 4 football games in a row and a guy named Vinny with a baseball bat shows up. You know, this is the usury rates that you get. So there was a bad situation, and we had about 27 to 35 days before the whole thing would implode. That's how bad it was. It was a 9-0 Democratic city council, a Democratic mayor.
Cranston, Rhode Island, this is hardcore, working class, very liberal, very democratic territory, yes. And you won the election.
Yes. 15% Republicans, about 40% Democrats. I won 53-47. And the message I gave during the election campaign, I hadn't been home in 20 years. This is where I grew up. I'd went away to business school and to Wall Street and so forth. But I came home, and basically my message was, nobody will like anything that I do. But I'm not living in Detroit. I didn't come all the way back here.
So they talked to your wife, apparently.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a very harsh message. But because people were panicked, because defaulting on your debt, many people thought you couldn't get a mortgage anymore. No one really knows what happens when you're really in a city.
When a city
defaults.
And now that places like Stockton, California are in bankruptcy, yes. We're living through this. What did you do? How did you turn that around in such a short amount of time? And you did.
Well, we did. First, we get the public involved. And what happened, and I think it happens in a lot of places, where people feel like they're alone. They know it's a terrible situation. They've read the paper. In fact, in the Providence Journal, the Denver Post of Rhode Island, they had red letters, Cranston financial crisis, after every story. It could be a basketball game, Cranston financial crisis. But everything, people were focused. And so when people really focused, we were able to get thousands of people to come out. I mean, when I had the budget address, room probably holds 800 people. And I made everybody listen to everything we were going to cut, starting with, try taking $600,000 out of a $2.2 million senior center with all the older people who live in Cranston, and work your way down. We had crossing guards that made $129 an hour. That's what the guy at CNN said.
No, hang on. So, you had these are the guys that do this, and
yes.
Kids walk.
Mostly volunteers, kids.
And they got paid how much?
They had $45 in cash, free health insurance for the entire family, unemployment in the summertime for another $80,000 for 39 crossing guards, $2,100 for the summer, a pension plan, retirement days, snow days.
And how much did they get paid?
$129 an hour, 1 hour a day, half hour in the morning, half hour in the afternoon. So how did we do it? We got public opinion to turn around.
Why didn't you just fire them?
I fired them.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That works.
And it took 2 years in Rhode Island. They were represented by one of the largest unions in America, the International Brotherhood Union, which is located in Providence, Rhode Island, about 20 feet over the border. And most of their leaders lived in Cranston, Rhode Island. So this went on for years. And we finally won the suit. We proved that the city charter trumped the contract. And so that was one way we did it. But what we really had to do was get our borrowing costs down. So we had to what we really had to do was get people motivated, get them involved. And they had to know. And I remember when I was cutting all these things, and people had to watch. And all of a sudden, people realized there's no more favors. No one's playing politics. This guy's really going to make everybody suffer. He's going to cut everything he can.
And everybody suffered.
And everybody suffered. And
This
I was
doesn't-
reelected.
This doesn't make you a popular guy if you're cutting senior centers' budgets by substantial amounts. You're getting into union fights and lawsuits that take years to
That's right.
to take care
we
of.
had a lawsuit regarding the school system. The school systems generally overspend their budget, and then people may sue or not sue, but then they sue it so late that the money's already spent and no one's held responsible. As soon as they did not balance their budget, as the city council told them to do under my budget, I waited 2 weeks and filed a writ of mandamus and sued them personally. Therefore, they knew that we were going to get this thing resolved before half the year was over fiscally, and therefore they needed to balance their budget. Guess what? $3 million saved every year, probably through today, on a present value basis, was millions of dollars.
When you went in, you were 3 months away from insolvency, right?
Insolvency, yes. Missing payroll.
When you left after 2 terms, wasn't it?
2 terms.
Where were you?
$22 million surplus versus a $12 million deficit. The pension plan, which had $9 million going to zero, had $50 million of assets 4 years later. Today, by the way, it's less. And it's back to the same old thing. We were lowering property taxes my last year, the first time in 15 years, any city in Rhode Island. The bond rating was up 8 notches in 3.5 years, the biggest turnaround in bond rating in the history of America that we can find.
It sounds a little bit similar to what Colorado Springs went through, and all liberals were saying, you know, that's what Tabor does, and it looks like it's falling apart. They went through a tough time, and they pulled it together, and now they have this huge surplus. I want to talk about what happened after this. So you're not a guy that needs a job. From what I can tell, you're living comfortably on being a financial success before. So you take on this challenge. Afterwards, you ask some tough questions about where the country's going, and you end up putting it into a movie called Fixing America. I don't know if this pops out well, but it's an interesting piece about traveling America. Tell me what caused
I was at
that.
the Sundance Film Festival, not to make a movie, invited by 2 people who had an idea for a media company. And I'm being interviewed on a radio show. It hit me sitting next to the person who made the movie Margin Call, the fictional account of Lehman Brothers with Kevin Spacey and Jeremy Irons. I said, I need to make a movie. I've traveled the country with my family for 3.5 months at a time, back roads. The people of America know there's a giant debt problem. It's going to crush America. Everybody knows this. We can't walk down the street and not know this. And yet our elected officials are destroying the country. Both parties. Democrats a lot faster than Republicans would have it, but almost no difference. You know, if Paul Ryan wants to balance the budget in 2033 with two-year congressmen and 1-year budgets, God bless him. It's not realistic. So people know this. And so I wanted to really show.
Do people really, let me push you on this.
Yes.
Because I get a sense that people have no sense that there's a coming reckoning when it comes to financial debt, that we're in debt, what is it, 16 trillion, but that's nothing compared to what we've promised to spend and won't be able to. When you add that, it comes up to about 150 trillion. That will
never be repaid. That kids can't. We're stealing from our children. That you want to call yourself the greatest generation anymore, you can't keep taking from the kids. We don't have enough kids. It's not going to happen. I would say this, that people are confused about what to do sometimes, but one of the things I wish I'd made a movie about in some respects was the 25 people making the movie with me, the 12 on the road with me or so. I wish we had filmed them.
Because the crew guys?
Yeah, because after 3 weeks on the road, the director, people who are sort of agnostic, politically people, they're looking at me like, when are we going to find someone who says something different? People know. They simply feel like they're alone, like Cranston, Rhode Island, back when I first came home. What am I going to do about it? These guys get reelected every time. Why should I send money over here? I was a Republican, and they still, under George Bush, increased spending and nearly set the stage. They violated the rule of law with the GM bailout. No one will even say it. So that's what people are disgusted. That's why, you know, the unpopularity of Congress, and people feel like they're so alone they can't do anything about it. But they know.
So you went on the road.
Yes.
You took a film crew with you, and you just talked to people about the debt. You talk to people about the financial problem. Yeah. And people got it. Yeah. I mean, they came to you. They got it. Give me an example.
Viola is a lady who's sitting in a lawn chair on the side of the road in Tennessee, selling warm pies and old clothes in a church bazaar on a Saturday morning. And I don't know if anybody's asked her a serious question. 12 guys compiling out. We got the big cameras. I'm Steve Laffey. I'm a serious guy. Can we talk to you? And just having her explain interest cost in her own life What happens when you throw a check behind you? You know, she can't pay a bill, but the interest comes around and catches up with you. There's a better metaphor than Ben Bernanke could ever come up with.
You can't throw a check behind you.
It's going to come around because the interest cost is going to eat you up. And then she says things like, and don't nobody say that you didn't know it was failing, because it's all been falling down for a long time. So people do know. They simply don't know what to do, and they got to go.
Would you say that this was almost a confessional that average Americans, despite wanting to get the benefits that they have, the middle class subsidies that they get now, whether it's Social Security or Medicare, that deep inside, everyone knows this is a problem. Kind of like before the Surgeon General put smoking warnings on there, everybody knew smoking was not good. Everybody knew.
Do you really put your head over a smokestack and breathe it? Of course not.
It's not
good for you. The question, though, is different. If you say in the Wall Street Journal tomorrow morning, or some poll that you guys do, or someone does, and says, what's the biggest problem? Oh, debt. And then it'll be like the article byline will say, but people don't want to cut Social Security. But if you ask people random questions, of course they don't want to cut Social Security. But if you say, listen, would you suck it up even more to fix this great country before we lose the whole republic? If it was fair, if those sugar producers weren't getting their special bailouts, if the ethanol producers weren't getting what they get, if the big lobbyists in Washington weren't able to change the laws and make it so complicated that we can't even understand it to benefit them, would you do even more? The answer is yes. People love America. They want to fix America. We know that
Do they want to take the personal price to fix America, which means they get fewer benefits in order to save their kids?
I'll give you an example. It's 2 days before my re-election for Cranston mayor. I've raised taxes, unfortunately, because I don't print money. We've cut spending as best we can. We put money into the pension plan, even though I fought about the pension plan. We funded it 100%. A lady walks up, is in a car. I walk up to her. I hate you. I said, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm voting for you. It had to be done. But I didn't like it.
I didn't like it, but I hate it. People want to grab a copy, Fixing America.
FixingAmericaMovie.com. And you get it right there, or just go to Amazon, hit Fixing America, and you can rent it, buy it, download it.
Steve, let's talk about this more, because I have a feeling you're going to be making more waves around in town. Thank you so much, Steve Laffey. And you, stay tuned. Talk a little bit of Barry Fay. You don't want to miss this.